Hey guys, we're back to talk about the next pillar in the nutritional therapy approach, and that is the importance of hydration. We love our water. It's a very simple thing to do is to drink water. However, most of us are not only dehydrated, but we are chronically dehydrated. So I'm going to go into the importance of water, what our urinary system does, why it's important, and we're going to get into what dysfunction looks like and what we can do about it. All right, let's get into it. So the urinary system is made up of two kidneys, ureters, which are the straws in which urine passes through into your bladder, and then finally out the urethra. And it seems simple enough. Our kidneys filter the blood. They take away the metabolites and the waste products from cellular fluid and get rid of these things. So we filter out ions such as chloride, sodium, bicarbonate ions, glucose, urea, potassium, uric acid, proteins, and creatinine. All these help balance our electrolytes. It helps to keep the body in what we call homeostasis. And homeostasis is just a Greek fancy word for homeos, meaning similar, and stasis, meaning standing still or static. So we want to have a balance. The body is always compensating and trying to help itself stay within homeostasis. The urinary system is no different here. It's one of the main drivers in keeping homeostasis within the body. It's doing a lot than simply passing water through your body. The regulatory functions of the urinary system are keeping blood volume and blood pressure stable, keeping your blood pH stable. So you don't want things too acidic. You don't want things too basic, keeping those blood level ions as even as we can, things like sodium, potassium, calcium, chloride, and phosphate. And it also helps regulate the production of calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D, which helps regulate calcium homeostasis. So all of that is thanks to our urinary system. Now, the kidneys are also wonderful at detecting the level of fluid you have in your body. They will conserve water when your urine is more concentrated, and they will expel more water if your urine becomes more diluted. Diuretics will slow the reabsorption of water by the kidneys, and so the water that should be moving back into the bloodstream will now be excreted, increasing the flow of urine. Common diuretics that we see in our daily life is pop drinks, carbonated drinks, caffeinated drinks, things like coffee, tea, and energy drinks, juice. All of these things can actually move water more quickly out of your body. And so that's why it's really important that if you are having these drinks, that you kind of offset it with at least one glass of water in its place. Let's say I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day. I want to have 4 to 6 glasses of water throughout. We want to make sure we're offsetting all that water that we're pulling out of our body. We want to replenish it with clean water. Actually, funny story, when I used to work at the doctor's office, I was a phlebotomist and I would take people's blood. When you're a phlebotomist, one of the most annoying things is the fact that people are always dehydrated. So it's very hard if they don't have really easy veins to find a vein when they're dehydrated. It used to drive me crazy because my coworker would always tell them, yeah, any drink is fine. You want to drink extra coffee? Just make sure you're good and hydrated. And I was like, I remember being so disgusted when I heard that because I'm like, it's not going to help. Have them drink water. Oh man, walk back on memory lane there. I think that's horrible advice. So if you're ever told that just more fluids means you'll be more hydrated, that's not necessarily the case. I would never recommend a diuretic as more fluids for you because it's just going to be pulling fluids out of you. What you want to do is look for high quality, well filtered water. If it's extremely filtered, you want to reintroduce some electrolytes into it. Now, there are some products on the market out there. I'm really not affiliated with anyone. I just like to do it the good old fashioned way. I use sea salt flakes. I take a pinch of that, I throw it into my glass, and I squeeze a little bit of lemon. Sometimes I'll put a slurp of apple cider vinegar in there if I'm feeling frisky, but that will give it the proper pH. It'll give it all of the minerals that you need. And that way you'll also be replenishing those ions that will keep things balanced. You won't be running to the bathroom the same way you would if you were just having stripped water. If you're drinking tap water, there are some things to be aware of. Tap water can contain a lot of contaminants, and with how medicated our society is these days, it can contain even trace amounts of medications in it. So it's best to have filtered water. Not asking you to go out and get your home retrofitted with a reverse osmosis super expensive unit. Do the best you can. Just getting a Brita filter, something to take out those extra impurities, will help you very much. You can also purchase bottled spring water. If you have a well, you've got to get that well tested for any kind of outside elements that can seep into it from the ground, including things like arsenic and lead. You can also try carbonated water, but remember that is a form of processed water, and so you want to limit the amount of processed foods that you have. If you're one of those people that hates water, that hates the taste of it, you can experiment. Try infusing it with things like fresh mint, things like sliced cucumbers, strawberries, lemon. As I said, you can put a capful of apple cider vinegar in there just to give it some kind of extra taste that maybe you'll find really palatable. You might notice that the more water you drink, the more you might feel thirsty. And this is actually a good thing. It means that your body is starting to understand, I'm getting more water than I normally do, so now I can reawaken this thirst signal that was asleep for a while. Your body's very good at catering to the demands that you put it under. If you're the type of person constantly going, never drinking water, that thirst signal will start to try to meet you where you're at, and it won't be as active as when you are drinking more water. When you start to drink water, you'll start to notice, hey, I think I need more water. It's just your body reacting in a very positive way. Another great way to get electrolytes into your water is to add a splash of coconut water into your water. Now, I think coconut water is fantastic to drink. I just wouldn't make that my only source of water because there is sugar in it, and even though it's totally natural sugar and it's got nature's perfectly balanced electrolytes already in it, I would say that the added sugar is probably not going to do well for you. So just make sure you're using a splash of that and maybe having just one bottle a day of coconut water if that's something that you do enjoy. Now, there's a ton of research on what is the recommended amount for your daily water intake. I don't even bother with that. One of the things I love about nutritional therapy is bioindividuality. So that means we look at you and your circumstances because there's no one out there like you. There's no one out there like me. We have our own needs as to how much water we need in a day. And you will know you're getting enough when you see the following. Your urine is very light or straw colored. So we want a very light yellow, a pale yellow. You don't want it dark. You don't want it orange. Now, if you're taking medications, that's a different story. A lot of medications can change the color of your urine, and there's not much you can do about it. However, normal everyday peeing, we want it to be pale yellow. And you want to be drinking it throughout the day, not guzzling it all at once. You don't want to be running to the bathroom constantly. You want it to be a slow drip throughout the day for your body to utilize when it needs it. Again, infusing it with those electrolytes. And you want to consider the factors that go into how much water you may need. How often do you get thirsty during the day? How much energy are you expending outside where you might be sweating more? Do you do physical labor for a living? Are you a runner or a cyclist? Those people need extra water because they're expelling that much more through sweat, which, by the way, is very healthy and great for the body. It's a longevity hack for sure, is to get so much movement during the day that you're sweating. You just have to remember to keep drinking lots of water. You also need extra water if you are an elderly person who's more sedentary. You're going to need more water when you're a baby and a young child. As you age, those thirst signals decline. This is why elderly people need more water, because they're not really paying attention to their thirst signals. And if they do, they're like, meh, I don't need it. I know the older I get, the less I care. We're using all of these factors to determine what's going to work for us. A good rule of thumb is to take the ideal weight that you want to be at, maybe not necessarily the weight you're at, but think about your ideal weight. Let's say that's 120 pounds. I would half that. And so you need 60 ounces of water per day. That is how we determine generally how much water we should have in a day. But again, you take in the other factors and you think about, well, am I sweating more? I'm going to need more than that. Or if you're sick, you got to push fluids. You want to drink even more water than that. But as a general rule of thumb, you can take half of your ideal weight in ounces, and that's about how much water you should aim for. There are so many factors that can affect your requirement for water: age, activity level, how much processed food you eat, environmental conditions. If you live at a higher elevation, you're probably going to need a lot more water. Chronic and acute disease, and pregnancy and lactation. Breastfeeding mothers, if you've ever breastfed, you know how thirsty that makes you. So what does dehydration look like? The early signs that we're dehydrated include things like thirst, fatigue, dry mouth, darker urine, cravings, especially in the afternoon, salty or sweet, muscle cramps, anxiety, headaches or migraines, and a degradation in memory and the ability to concentrate. Sounds kind of serious, doesn't it? Those are acute signs. What happens when we're chronically dehydrated, which, by the way, most Americans are? Things that you wouldn't necessarily piece together with dehydration include heartburn, joint pain, back pain, constipation, colitis, and even asthma that arises from exercise. So very interesting stuff. We don't realize just how far of a reach having enough water does for us. So really think about, how much water am I drinking? Don't beat yourself up if it's not enough. The important thing is we can first be aware of it and just add in a glass. Start with 8 ounces of your favorite kind of water. Just build in an extra glass and do that for a week and see how you feel. Then slowly build up to that goal of half of your target body weight and see how you feel. Some water timing tips can include drinking water at the first sign of being tired, tense, anxious, feeling like a headache's coming on, or having difficulty concentrating. Just start taking a couple extra sips. You can drink a glass of water upon waking and 30 minutes before each meal. We don't like to recommend that you drink a ton during the meal because we don't want to dilute your stomach acid. We want your stomach to be good and acidic so it can properly break down your food. You want to drink water before and after rigorous exercise, but not too much during the workout because, again, you don't want to be flooding the system all at once. You can avoid making too many trips to the bathroom by making sure your water is mineral rich and sipping it slowly throughout the day rather than guzzling it all at once. All right, how do you guys feel about this? Do you feel you're drinking enough water? I want to hear in the comments below what you think, and next time we will go into mineral balance. See you next time. Thanks for coming by.